And here we go. We are back at it. The sights and sounds of McCall 23 are happening all around us. The solution providers are here. People have been coming in and out, stopping in, saying hi, getting a chance to connect with individuals in real life because we are back in person. We are back at sessions. We are back learning together in these wonderful events. And all day today, we've been hearing from fantastic featured speakers, and we're going to continue that right now with featured speaker Dr. Julie Evans. Welcome to the Stronger Together podcast.
It's great being here. Thanks so much for having me.
So for those who don't know your work, share who is Dr. Julie Evans and the work that you do.
Happy to. So I'm the Chief Executive Officer of an education nonprofit group called Project Tomorrow. We're the ones that facilitate the annual Speak Up Research project every year and have done that for 20 years. We're particularly focused in on understanding how to translate research into practice to improve K-12 schools.
Wonderful. So Project Tomorrow website is down below. If individuals go to see that site or check out some of your work, what are they going to find?
Well, the number one thing they're going to find is information about how they can participate in the Speak Up Research project. Every year, we create a series of norm surveys that are available to any K-12 school or district who wants to use them to collect feedback from their stakeholders, from their students, their teachers, their parents, their administrators. It's a 100% free service that we provide so that schools and districts can understand how to use the best assets that they have, the views of their stakeholders.
Right, and I was looking at your session, reading the tea leaves, infusing the views of K-12 students and teachers into future visions of education. That's a lot packed in there. What was the session about?
So it was about the idea of, are we thinking about change in our schools, or are we thinking about transformation? And the difference between change and transformation. And I have, based on the research data, all sorts of interesting statistics about how teachers are now using technology. Is it a statement of change or is it a statement of transformation? And how the students themselves are transforming their learning outside of school on their own. And my big theory, my big hypothesis, is if we pay attention to how students are transforming learning outside of school on their own, it gives us great insights into what we can do in the classroom.
Absolutely, because I think that's where the interest comes. Students are doing things that they like. Students like to discover. So as a former building principal and now district leader, how do you advise people to start making that change?
So it comes down to listening.
Okay.
Sometimes we think we listen, but we're not really listening. So appreciating that what the students are doing is meaningful learning outside of school is sort of step one. Too often we think that the only valuable learning happens between 8:30 and 2:30, and not understanding that for today's students, learning is a 24/7 enterprise. With these type of technologies and available to them in their pocket even, they're learning all the time. We're just not paying attention to that type of learning. So I actually just published a book, or a book was published for me just in October, called Free Agent Learning.
Okay.
And that's 7 years of research from Project Tomorrow about not only what students are doing outside of school around areas of passion, purpose, curiosity, but what schools and districts can do to tap into that as a valuable asset to, in particular, inform their teachers.
And I think that's the big piece. So when you talk about listening, what are some of those active learning strategies or active listening strategies?
Right. So the key thing, I think, is to understand that the students themselves have their own vision for learning. Sometimes we create our own visions for learning. We create our graduate profiles. We think about our district plans. But outside of all this, the students have their own vision. And it's based on 4 components. Students like learning and believe it's most effective for them when learning is socially based,
Okay.
untethered, meaning they're not restricted by the resources in their school or the knowledge of their teacher. They like learning that's contextually oriented or rich, so it connects the dots, and where they have some element of not just choice, but actually driving their educational destiny. So sometimes we get caught up as adults, as educators, in our own vision of learning.
Okay.
And we assume that the students are along with us for the ride, but in fact, they may not be.
Okay.
One of the key statistics that I shared at the session this morning was that based on longstanding Speak Up research, only about 50% of middle school and high school students say they're engaged in what they're learning in school.
Wow.
50% say they're not. And that's not because of the pandemic, because our data precedes that. The reality is we may be doing a great job with our vision of learning for about 50% of our students.
Wow. Yeah. That was one of the things that I talk about with our staff when I was a principal, and I'm going to be presenting this afternoon about moving from consumption to creation, that there's a difference between engagement and participation.
Yes.
And in your work, in your research, what's the difference between just students participating and true engagement?
The students themselves give us the tips on that. And you're right in line with our thinking, Matthew. For the students, engagement is about utilizing their creativity skills and creating something that's of meaning to them. Not necessarily of meaning to you as a principal or as a teacher, but has personal meaning to them. So that's the way they define engagement, which I would say is heightened participation, content creation. And they don't buy into that idea that just putting technology in front of them drives engagement, because technology for today's kids is just a utility.
Right.
It's a way to get from A to B. It's a way to have efficiency. It's a way to have effectiveness. I think sometimes as adults, we get a little too hung up on you should be engaged because I'm playing a digital game in the class, without thinking about whether that's useful or not.
No, that's really important. So this is your book, Free
Yes.
Agent Learning.
Yes.
So for those who have not had a chance to pick it up, tell us a little bit about your book.
So as I said, it's based on 7 years of research. About 2.5 million students contributed to this research. And it looks at what students are doing outside of school, enabled by technology, to drive their own learning. In some cases, it's about self-remediation. Students don't feel they're being successful in math. They'll go to Khan Academy to find their own videos to learn, not teacher assigned. It's also driven by passion. Someone's passionate about all sorts of different things. We're all curious. Daniel Pink tells us that human beings are curious. So are kids. They maybe learned about something in class and wanted to study it further, so they go and do that. They're also learning about colleges and careers. So it's highly purposeful learning. It's not just friend development. It's not entertainment. It's actual learning that we need to be paying attention to. So the book is chock full not only of the statistics, but all the vignettes of the students I have met that have shared their free agent learning experiences. And then the ways that educators can start incorporating some of this into their classroom, into their school, to use it as an asset.
That's wonderful. So make sure to check out the book, check out the website, projecttomorrow.org.
Tomorrow.org.
Tomorrow.org. And make sure to check out Dr. Evans at JulieEvans_PT. So one of the things I heard you talk about with all of this research in your book is collaboration. And it's something that I'm really hold true to my heart. But for you, what does Stronger Together mean to you and your work?
So I always look at things as having to have a win-win-win, right? So when we partner with schools, that's great. We're partnering with a principal, we're partnering with the district superintendent, the CIO or CTO, but it's got to be a win for the beneficiaries as well. So it's got to have real benefit, whether that's the students, the parents, the teachers. So I hate to say this, I like a big tent. I like bringing all sorts of different folks in because I believe so strongly that everyone has a point of view and a perspective that needs to be listened to. And then that's how you build a shared vision.
I like it. Well, thank you for sharing a little bit about your work, about Project Tomorrow, or just Tomorrow, and all the work that you're doing here at McCall. So I look forward to picking up your book and learning from you moving forward.
Thanks so much.
Have a great rest of the event.
I will.